and welcome to Main Street Matters by Heart on Main Street, the podcast that knows that if you're going to drive sales in fourth quarter, you got to start outside first. I am your host, Patrick Kaiser. Welcome to October. We are finally in the final quarter of the year. I am so excited for everything that's about to come for your stores through Pink Friday and Black Friday and the holiday rush. I just know that this is going to be a fantastic year, and I can't wait to hear all of the great stories of your stores excelling during this time. Today's episode, as a little bit going off of what we did earlier in the week, we are catching up on some webinars that we've had since I've been doing book club. And we haven't been able to air those, but I wanted to be able to replay them so you can hear them, and really they're perfect for fourth quarter. On Monday, I aired the webinar with Melody Vanderbaan of Max Retail, where she talked about what we hoard product-wise and why, and how it's really advantageous to get those things out of your store so you have more money to invest back in things that will sell and that can bring you more money. Today, going along with that, we're looking at things for fourth quarter as well. We're looking at holiday window displays. I had a guest recently on the webinar named Amy Meadows. She runs a company called Windows Matter. Amy is an expert in her field. She has been in the window display, visual merchandising industry for multiple decades. She has worked with big box stores and boutiques. She helps businesses explore and leverage tools to attract customers and drive sales. I have known of Amy's work for much longer than I have known her. She was the lead window designer at Marshall Fields in Chicago, the famous Marshall Fields windows that it was a family tradition of mine to go down and see the windows, whether they were Harry Potter themed or the Grinch Who Stole Christmas. She would every year design these incredible window displays all along State Street. So I've known of her work. I've been a fan of her work for, well, pretty much my entire memory of life. So working with her and getting to know her, I mentioned this before, is kind of like getting to work with a hero of mine. I respect Amy so much. She has so much knowledge of how to create show-stopping window displays to get people to really stop and look at the products and not just breeze on by, but really take in what you have and attract them into your store to find out more. And that's really the key here. Yes, you want the beautiful window display, and she'll talk about this, but you want to tease them a little bit, show part of what you have so you're bringing people indoors, and that will help drive sales. So we had a fantastic webinar, huge attendance with that, lots of questions that you'll hear as people put into the chat as they were asking as we went along. If you want to watch this webinar, you certainly can. You can go to heartonmainstreet.org. All of our webinars, we have over 30 different webinars that we've conducted over the past 3 years. They are all there in our education in our past webinar section for you to be able to find, go back and learn from some of the experts that we have brought on. It is a little bit more visual, but you can certainly learn a lot as well just by listening to Amy and what she talks about. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Amy Meadows of Windows Matter, and we will learn all about creating show-stopping window displays. Amy, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I love this time of year.
Yeah. Today's topic is one of my absolute favorites. We're going to be talking about creating show-stopping window displays. I know it's only September, but I've already started to see Halloween pop up in stores. You might have already been putting out Halloween, and then right after Halloween, it's a mad rush to the end of the year. So we're going to want to really start planning out your window displays and get ready to help drive sales in fourth quarter, because really your store experience starts outside, and the window displays are a huge part of that. So I am going to turn it over to Amy because she knows far more than I do about this topic, and I'll let you take it away from here.
Okay, well, thank you all. Yes, it is the end of September, and some might think like, oh, it's just fall. Oh, no. The light at the end of the tunnel, that's holiday. I was explaining to someone earlier today, it's like, "Oh, yeah, and I'm meeting with retailers, and we're gonna be talking about, holiday windows, and I've never really quite understood the math about why 4th quarter is when you're gonna do 50% of your sales." I'm like, mm, that's really tough, and as I also appreciate for many, it will be more difficult this year as well. So, if there are specific things that you were logging on hoping to, you know, get answers to, by all means, put them in the Q&A. If there was something like, "Oh, I've always wanted to know," or, "Yep, I'm going to find out if she has a solution to this or that," by all means, put it in the Q&A. Patrick, if there's anything that you're seeing now, um, that you want me to find out about, or that's okay too.
Nothing quite yet, but again, yeah, if you all put
Okay.
your, what you want to learn today in the chat or Q&A, and we'll handle it as it comes in.
Thank you. And I'll just you'll just say you'll just I'll say, "And next slide, please." Yes.
Exactly. There we go.
All right. Well, let's start it off. Next slide, please.
All right.
There I am through the years. um, what I I want to preface this with a few things. Uh, One, just clarification, I worked at both Marshall Fields and Macy's from 1983 until 2008. I If you think that we had an army and an unlimited budget, I need to tell you right now, absolutely no. That is one thing that I really need to disabuse you of that notion. So when someone was saying, "How do you do it on a shoestring budget? How do you manage that?" That was every single day. Second thing that I'm frequently asked is, people are like, "Oh, I'll bet you wish you had a do you ever wish you had a blank check and just to do the window of your dream?" And the answer is absolutely not, not ever. I feel that good design is problem solving, and good windows and good visual merchandising is sales driving. I cannot emphasize that enough. Looking good, being pretty, great, great. We love that. But you've got to use that, the placement, the props, the colors, the editing, the decisions, the intentionality, the romance, the nostalgia, all of that. You're doing that. What? To sell stuff, to sell stuff. Um, and people think, "Oh, Amy, I bet your house is amazing at Christmas." And the answer is absolutely not, because there were years when I just wanted to put up an 8 by 10 of the great tree and say, "All done here." So cobbler's children go barefoot. It's a frequent occupational hazard in this industry. But I joined retail theater, which is sometimes how window display and visual merchandising is referred to. I joined from actual theater. My training is in set design. I showed up at Marshall Fields just to get an idea of my portfolio. Is it applicable? And they're like, "Wait, hold on. You know how to do faux finishing and upholstery and carpentry and all of that?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, that's and designing for the proscenium." And they're like, "You're hired." Okay. And here's the thing. You might say, "Well, but that's really kind of different." And it really isn't, because what we were doing in theater was making decisions about every single thing that you saw the lighting, the stage, the costumes, all of that, in order to do what? Promote the play, promote the action, to support what was on stage. What do we do in visual merchandising? Is it about like, oh, you should go down and see the windows? Well, yeah, I mean, sure, go down and see the windows. But everything that we do is in the effort of supporting the merchandise. Instead of actresses, we have mannequins. We have a brand. We have people who like, oh, well, that's kind of what I expected to see. Or so it was really about understanding that frame. And a lot of what I'm going to challenge you to do moving forward, but as you listen to me talk, put yourself in the mind of your customer. And that's really hard to do because you live in your space. You come in through the same door. You do all of that. You know every inch intimately. But what is your customer seeing? What are you sharing with your customer from the sidewalk, from that front door, all of that? So next, Patrick. Yeah, love this. And, it's like this scene, it is a classic of kids with their faces pressed up against the windows. I will note that one of the things that makes the Fields windows, that makes the animated windows special, is there is no product. There is zero product, no merchandise placement, nothing. And you think, wait, you've given away an entire city block of your prime real estate, and we can't even see inside. But you're going to use that space to do what? To build a connection, to build loyalty, to bring delight. And people are always asking, like, oh, well, my gosh, how much do they cost? The answer is the same, because I was really well coached in media training. The answer is the same. These windows were our gift to the city, and one never asks the cost or the price of a gift. Okay. Now, what that meant is, if we were going to do all of that on State Street, and Patrick, let's see the next slide, please. If we were going to do all of that on State Street, that meant we had to use those other 3 city blocks, Randolph, Washington, Wabash, to make up for lost time, lost promotion, lost merchandise exposure. So, are your holiday windows a big deal? Absolutely. And good design is good design. I'm not going to ask you to do anything today that you wouldn't probably already do in your home. It's like when you do a tablescape, when you position your artwork, just so, when you're selecting color themes, you know what works. So we're not recreating the wheel. We might be redirecting those wheels a little bit, but for my sins, I love alliteration. I'm going to talk about cleanliness, consistency, and creativity. Those are 3 big goals / stumbling blocks / whatever. Next, please. First off, cleanliness. Now, if you've been waiting to wash your windows, and you may think, oh, come on, I didn't come on here to have her tell me to wash my windows. Wash your windows. Wash your windows inside. Wash them outside. Believe me, just that subtle sparkle is going to take people and go, wait, what? What's going on over there? So you would be very surprised how much just rain and salt and smudges and stuff adds up. Get sparkling glass. Stand outside. Make sure that there are no visible extension cords, nothing left over from past installations. If you've ever thought like, well, monofilament, I use that a lot. People use that a lot. That's clear. It's practically invisible. No, not when light hits it. So you've got to really start with a very blank slate. But once you have made that decision, then what's the story you're going to tell? And you're going to edit. And this is the hardest part. This is harder than creativity. This is harder than anything, because I am telling you, you can't show everything. This is not about allowing the customer to shop from the sidewalk. Yes, you want to encourage window shopping, but not without coming in. The purpose of a powerful window, a well-done window, is to bring, it's a tease. It's a tease. If anyone says, gosh, visual merchandising window display sounds awfully manipulative. Oh, yes, it absolutely is. It's getting you to say, oh, well, I like that briefcase there, but I would want a different color. I should go inside and see. Oh, well, I like the gloves that they're showing there, but I would want black. I wonder if I should go inside and see. If you would put out a lot of briefcases or a lot of the gloves and shown them everything that you had, why come inside? So you are teasing. This is about teasing. And how are you going to, you might edit by customer, you might edit by color. I love a good color story for sure. So next. Now, what I was showing you at Fields and what we had to work with were 10-foot tall, shatterproof. No, they weren't shatterproof. I take that back. Non-shatterproof panes of glass that went from side to side, anywhere from 10 feet to 12 feet. Big, but also just mullions on the side panel. All right. That is pretty rare. It is more likely that you are going to see, as I've shown in this picture on the right, many mullions that are going to divide up the glass. And you got to work around that. I would have students, I taught visual merchandising at Columbia College for years and years. And of course, when you're doing something like this, the sketch I've just done here on the right, and you put something dead center, it's easy. And you think, well, that's where the mannequin will be. That's where the center of interest will be. Fine. But I'm like, yeah, but the windows that we're doing in our classroom, they have mullions and dividers every 7 feet. So let's figure that out. What I am showing here is baseline, very baseline, basic set design for the proscenium that I've adapted for retail. And that is, if I look at this, I've done just kind of a willy-nilly draping. That's closing the space down. It's making my eyes focus more closely on the area here, the featured item. This could be greenery. This could be drapes swagged back. This could be framing done with vinyl. This could be anything. And I've also noted that one of the things that will add a little oomph is if you can put some kind of backdrop. Sorry, that was Santa calling. If you can put some kind of a backdrop, it doesn't have to be opaque. It might just be a simple translucent curtain, but something that will provide just a little bit of a grounding and a backdrop for your item without blocking the view of your store, without blocking natural light. The image that I chose over here, and again, you want to talk about inexpensive, this is ribbons, boxes, and bells. But by creating this proscenium, this lovely little up and down framework that brings the focus in, here is the focus. If I were at that store, I would say, nah, I think we can skip the red Christmas trees. Let's keep the focus up here. And I would also say, how about could we drop like a screen of more red ribbons or something that would just give it a little reinforcement for that center frame. But this is inexpensive. This is easy to install. And the fact that they've used red, that's their color story, and the customer wants a lovely, fancy gown. If I see that, I'm not going to say, oh, they only have red gowns. Too bad. I'm going to say, wow, they have that in red. Well, I'm going to go see if I can have it in black. If they have that, what else have they got? Next.
Real quick, Amy, there was a
Yes.
question, and I can't see the Q&A, unfortunately, right now, but from the chat, one of the questions that came in was, I have high ceilings and I can't reach with a ladder. What are some good ideas I can do when I can't hang things from the ceiling? So in this picture, they're hanging. What would you suggest kind of an alternative from hanging here?
Well, what there a couple of things would be is if you could, if it would be possible to install and suspend some kind of a grid, or even I've used tension rods. I don't know how long how wide that is, the length and width. Another thing would be if you can't work down, work up. So sometimes tripods, sometimes the simple tools that photographers or filmmakers use for pipe and drape, you can use those. So you can use tripods, or depending on what the floor is in your store, a simple pipe with a flange. If you can attach that flange, again, when I'm making recommendations without knowing if you rent or own, the age of your building, and everyone has all kinds of stuff. Believe me, I had to crawl on my stomach across past fine jewelry vaults to get into one window. I had to go across the top of a bar at an opera house to get inside another window. So, and I have some gigs now where I'm like, really, who designed these windows? It's just kind of like they said, oh, and we'll put glass across the front. And then maybe, we'll just, without any way to really light it or paint it or attach anything to it. So that, let's see the next one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, when I'm talking about that frame, okay? Now, this is stupid simple. You guys, this is latex paint on the inside of the glass. All right? Nothing quite as forgiving as paint. And it is fun to scrape off. But let me tell you, you see here, it is opaque. It is opaque. And it has to be at least 3 layers. Okay? And you want that glass clean, or else it's going to seal in every little smudge. So it's not without its maintenance or at least installation issues. But see how this just narrows it down? It's perfect. And the next one, it's really unusual to have a window that opens from the front. I think they're fabulous, but they're really rare because otherwise you're running in and out a lot to check and see how it looks from the front. But again, here's this simple swag and down with the collection of merchandise. I would also say that this is nicely positioned asymmetrically. This is to some extent what we would refer to as the power of the pyramid. And there are also the rules of odds, 3, 5, 7. Those are just little weird visual games that your brain will play on you. Let's go to the next one, actually. when we talk about precise placement. Notice she's placed off center. If I had just kept her in a little bit, I would just look like I couldn't use a measuring tape. You want to have off center means that you are centered in the remaining 50% of that window. Okay. I know it's math, but if you want, it's all about intentionality. Be intentional about that placement, not, it's either centered or it is off center. It is either you have divided your space symmetrically or asymmetrically. I love asymmetry. I love asymmetry. Why? Look at that. One mannequin with a simple graphic that's holding down that window. That's nice. That is really nice. No one had to like fill it up with a whole lot of extra stuff. I worked for a vice president who said that with just the right placement, you could put a vase in an empty window and it would work. But it had to be just the right vase, just the right space. But he was right. So, yeah, the power of the pyramid, law 357. And the next slide, then, please. All of these things, when I was talking, we're going to go from cleanliness to consistency. All right. Sat in a meeting once, and I think it was with Estee Lauder. And they're like, oh, but we have these things that we can send you, these fold out things that promote the fragrance, and you can use those like banners or, I don't know, folded box things in the windows. And we said, well, no, we wouldn't be using those in our windows. And the representative said, oh, but no, it's okay. It says Estee Lauder on it. And that's when the president of Marshall Fields, Phil Miller, at the time, he goes, yes, but it says Marshall Fields on our door. So you're in charge. You get to be picky as they come. This is your store. This is your brand. This is the kind of, do you sell children's goods? Do you sell soft crafts? Do you sell cookware? what's the kind of vibe that your store is giving off and that you want to promote? That's where you need to zero in on the theme that you're going to choose or the types of props that you're going to choose. Are you going to be all in holly and mistletoe and ribbons and velvet and all of that? Are you going to be a little more playful? Is it childlike wonder? There are also, let's also be clear, there are a lot of, depending on where you are in the country, you're not going to be celebrating snowflakes like the ones behind me. Why? Because you don't have any snow. Two, not everyone celebrates Christmas. So are you taking a more seasonal approach for that? But there are a myriad of gift-giving holidays throughout the fourth quarter. And it's just something to keep in mind. Next. So with a tree is not a tree is not a tree. There are a billion different types of trees. So if you want to have Christmas trees in your windows, choose the tree you want. I mean, yeah, they'll have some good ones at Home Depot, but actually show me the next slide, Patrick. These get crazy. Okay, they're crazy. They're lime green, they're frosted, they sparkle, they're not even lit. Some barely pretend to be trees. They're more sculptures. And that's fine. That's fine. If that is in keeping with the type of store that you are and the type of product that you sell, go for it. Absolutely go for it. You can be colorful, you can be whimsical, you can be sparkly, you can be all of that. And you have to be that from your windows all the way into your store. You have to be consistent. All right. Next one.
I feel like you can feel different store personalities looking at these.
Yeah, absolutely. Where it's like, oh, yeah, I absolutely can see that there. Yeah. And in the middle, that's my daughter doing one of our trees because I get tired of trees. But to do this, like a frame that I saw, copied. Yes, I know. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, and I just love to flatter lots of Pinterest posts. But it works. And then you just take it apart at the end. So and some years I wrap it in live greenery. Some years I suspend entire columns of ornaments and ribbons and lights that just shimmer down the center. I love it. So that was, but again, here we have the raffia, woven, rope, wood. If you are, again, what are you selling, and what is unique about if your product is locally made, if your product is handmade, if your product is, what's the selling point there? By all means, capitalize on that. Next. Oh, bye, Emma. Okay. And if you're stuck if you find yourself just kind of torn, or there's an opportunity for your business district to work together to create a color scheme or a theme that works and can be combined, that makes that main street, that shopping district look really pulled together. It doesn't always work because of the variety of businesses along any given stretch. But even if you're one or two or three of those and you're like, I love the wreaths, I love the greenery on the lanterns, I love that kind of aubergine and the turquoise and the green, I think I want to pull that in. Go for it. Go for it. You never know. Work with the person who's running your business district. There may be opportunities for discounts on products, or opportunities to overlap on installation services. Just saying. Next. Zero waste. Everyone's like, oh, we're zero waste. Okay, seriously, we were zero waste long before anyone knew what anyone was using zero waste. We did not buy or build a single thing at Marshall Fields for any of our windows if it couldn't be reused, stored and brought back, suspended upside down, cut in half like a magician's box. I mean, nothing there. You never had just a one-shot deal. I cannot tell you. But that's what you had to do. That's what you have to do. And so you think through, like, well, they're those birch logs. They work in the winter. I could use them in a window. Oh, look, they got cut, but they're screw-eyed together. They work well in the spring too. Can you dab them with gold leaf? Manzanita works great in the fall, and it's beautiful in the winter. So there are any number of things that you can get extended use. Okay, next. Here comes the creativity. Okay, do not freak out. Seriously. People say, No, do not ask me to be creative. Okay, again, not asking you to be artistic. That's its own thing. This is about good design as problem solving. What's your problem? What are you up against? Is it the timing? Is it the budget? Is it the competition? What are you up against? And how are you going to make this work? Next. So I pulled from behind me. Yeah, I love snowflakes. And I'm going to tell, we're also going to tell you why, but just, I love the fact that they used they've used them suspended like that. They've used them attached to the glass, not loving the tape, but there are different ways to do that. But Patrick, take us to the next one. This is one of my very favorites. This is for an optical shop. What are you seeing?
See the glasses.
Yes.
It took a second, but yeah. Oh, yes. I love it.
Yes. Now, here's the deal. You might say, I would love, and I'm like, I want snowflakes that are done with different types of glasses, because you see there are Well, what I did is, here's what I did. I went online through this app called Fiverr, which you may or may not be know, Fiverr. Basically, it got that name because you can go on there and say, hey, I'm looking for someone to do this for me. Anywhere from write a theme song to my business to anything. And I have worked with those artists to do renderings, to do vector files, to do stuff that I'm not that well versed in. But if I'm going to send it to a fabricator, a sign shop, carpenter shop, they'll need that. And I said, can you do something kind of like this? They said, sure. And for a reasonable price, I received the files. I then took that to a workshop. This is also a place where I'm going to just sing the praises of public libraries. Public libraries, a lot of the public libraries have maker spaces. It's worth checking out. And if you don't want to go use that maker space, there are people who would probably love to do some 3D printing or some laser cutting or some different things like that for you. So don't feel that you have to know how to use all the tools and create all the files. Fiverr is great. And I'm sure there are a gabillion more otherwise. But, and another thing, kind of going back to theater, check with us. Do you have a local theater company? Because I can guarantee you they've got a shop, they've got people who can paint, they've got people they've got stuff they might want to rent you. Or maybe you want to do, are they doing Christmas Carol? Maybe you can promote their stuff. There's just lots of different ways to do that. Next window, please. Next, maybe it's time to branch out. No pun intended. But again, you want to use logs, you want to use birch, fine. I showed you, we saw the window with the boxes and the bells, ornaments. Buy them by the box, buy them by the hundreds. Now, there are a couple of different ways to think about this. I love the uniformity of the one on the left. I love that it's been edited to red and white. Done. But I also love the opportunities on the right, because that is in its own way a chance for you to invite your employees and some of your customers to bring their own ornaments in. You know, it's just another thing. Let's also go to the next slide. Boxes. We looked at boxes. This is just like boxes in the sleigh. They get now, but I want to point out all of these boxes, this has been carefully selected, carefully chosen, red and white themed palette gift wrap. Okay. And it's asymmetrical because we see Frosty down there on the right. We're seeing that on a diagonal. They're really not showing that much product in the window. They don't really have to, but they've also added what I think is really nice are these very simple stickers to add some dimension to that. Next, again, boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes. Go big or go home. This is asymmetrical. This is at an angle. She is framed. There is nothing competing about her. And what was done with these boxes, and you can have Sir Speedy do this, is just vinyl cutouts that are applied. All right. And then it's a simple red ribbon. There's no gift wrap involved. Thank you very much, because I hate getting paper cuts. But honestly, these can get untied, nested, and put back for the following year. They also work as risers, as plinths, as places for you to put selected product. And because I just take such great delight in the cheap and cheerful things that Urban Outfitters does, that Urban Outfitters do. That's just masking tape. It's masking tape and gaffer's tape. And it's a terrific plaid. Now, I wouldn't expect to see that at an upscale boutique. If I find that at Urban Outfitters, I'm like, yes, that's the customer. That's the pitch point. That's all of that. So let's go to the next slide where we see something even when we talk cheap and cheerful. Masking tape can leave a sticky residue. Yes. Now, they have done theirs on the outside of the glass, which can, it means that it might get picked away, but if you're doing it on the inside. So what you would probably have to do is use a window cleaner with a razor blade scraper. Good question. And vinegar. All right. Who doesn't love vinegar? These are straws. Okay. These are straws. This is a museum installation at Newfields in Indianapolis. I love it. It's gorgeous. And I think, straws? Now, you might like, well, I don't know. That's a whole lot of straws to sit there and string through and all of that. Next slide. That's when you invite people in and you have a little workshop. And this is something that Anthropology started. And boy, one time I asked my students, I'm like, well, WWAD. And I'm like, yeah. And they said, what would Amy do? I'm like, well, duh. But what would Anthropology do? Because that's probably my favorite store in the world because of how they master being eclectic, being welcoming, being shabby, being chic, being new. I don't know how they do it, and I don't really try to break it down. I just enjoy the heck out of it. But they have workshops. So you want to come in and learn how to make these ornaments, and then you would leave them with them. Talk about manipulative, but yeah, you can pick them up later, but you've learned how to do something for yourself. So can you involve the community in this or that, or cutting snowflakes, or just doing things like that? You get low-cost labor for mass production, and the participants get a souvenir and bragging rights as that installation goes on view. So just something to think about. Now, I did promise you, okay, so I promised you tips and tricks, right? So one, just theater basics, how you design for the proscenium, which is that frame through which we see the action, right? Okay, so there's that. We talked about Symmetry being central. We talked about asymmetry off to the side. We talked about the power of the pyramid. Don't put heavy stuff on top. Don't put on the bottom. Just don't. Keep it clean. If you're trying to decide between using 3 mannequins or 4, use 3. If you're going to put out X number of different mugs and you can't decide between 5 or 6, do 5. All right. Subconsciously, there have been studies on this that subconsciously people look and the brain says, oh, there should be another one there to make that a whole. I'm not going to psychoanalyze all of that, but it has been studied, and using odd numbers of items. And you'll see this. Here's another thing. You're like, well, where do I get all these ideas? Just did an article on Smart Retailer for this. Yes, Pinterest. Oh my gosh. Yes. Instagram. Yes. Wedding planners, florists. Oh my, theatrical productions. There are just so many things out there like you wouldn't necessarily think of. And then I'll see something like, dang, that's really good. There's like one place that had done this amazing idea for the, you check in at the wedding and it's a little table seating and you find out where you're going to be. And I don't remember what they did, but it was fabulous. And it was so simple to execute. I'm like, oh, I wish I thought of that. I'm going to stick that up my sleeve. I mean, it might be seashells. It might be boxes. It might be sand dollars. It might be milk jugs. I saw a backdrop that had been created for a comedian recently on stage that was it was nothing but those big, like 5-gallon orange things that they pour the Gatorade on.
Oh, yeah.
But it was just a whole wall of it. So again, go big. So I want to give you just some basic rules, basic math. Next. Okay, lights. Green lights for green trees, 100 lights per 1.5 feet. All right. I'm not going to do the math for you, but know that. That's how we would make sure that you do that. Test them. Always test them before you start. Keep them plugged in as you work. I get little singe marks because I do mine looped over. And I am a wrapper. I do like star-shaped. In and out, in and out. I do not twirl around, and I don't do up and down. All right. And you fluff first. You've always got to fluff. You got to straighten them out. And yeah, you will get cuts on your hands, but oh well. But you really want to do that before you start putting in your lights. I look for lights with an end-on-end connection so that I don't end up with a big plug thing at the bottom. And please, whatever you do, remove those white tags. Remove those white tags. They're only there until the consumer uses them. Please remove them. And hide your extension cords. You can get extension cord covers, just little molded, simple things of plastic that can do all of that. Next. What were some of the tricks that we used doing the great tree? Well, one, that back and forth and the number of lights. Two, this may be a little counterintuitive for some of you. We put solid color glow balls toward the center, toward the trunk, filling that space up with color, preferably reflective color. All right. I know you want some still to be at the end, but These can be inexpensive. They can be plastic. They can be filled, but they go doing that. And then last but not least, almost last but not least. Yeah, this is the great tree being assembled. Yes, we used boxes on a pulley, but time after time, and Patrick, when you came to see the windows, and if you went to the great tree, and I will have people say like, oh, I know the great tree in the walnut room, but no, I mean like the really big tree, the big tree. It's like, oh, that was a big tree. It's like, how do you make that tree look? How did we, especially the smaller you are, look up, 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 up? We had 3 different sizes of ornaments, of identical ornaments: large, medium, small. Another theatrical smoke and mirrors trick that would lead you to believe that it's taller than it is. And who copied us? Walt Disney. If you look up at those Cinderella towers, okay, you heard it here first, but I don't know that he copied us, but that kind of forced perspective, whew, love it. So you can do that even if they're right in front of you. And then the final thing I'm going to share with you is in the next slide. Look at those girls showed up. Those girls showed up dressed like that during a photo shoot with Life magazine. And we were like, what? Do you want to be in the picture? They're like, yes. Whatever. But what you're looking at, what you're seeing there is white Christmas lights that have been taped to the floor with masking tape so they don't move, and then covered with salt, drenched in kosher salt. Nothing mounds like it, nothing drifts like it, nothing sparkles like it. Salt. Even if you are going to use batting or different things to get you a little fluffier, look for some ways to add kosher salt to that. And if you are doing that with the hands that you have just cut and bloodied from fluffing the trees, I'm sorry, but you're suffering for someone else's art, and you're really going to town to make your sales. And that concludes today's presentation. Thank you. Woo!
All right. I know we had some in the Q&A, so I just want to make sure everyone that we had, we're right at our time, but we'll run through a couple of the questions. Amy, thank you so much. This was fantastic.
Thank you. Thanks.
So we had 2 similar questions, but
okay.
Ideas for, we had one that was saying we have windows with horrible issues of sun bleaching. We even have to be careful with what is displayed near the windows.
Yep.
The city has a regulation that no more than 10% of the cumulative window space can be covered by signage. Any attention-getting suggestions to this unique challenge?
We had the same problem. And the zoning actually in Chicago is only slightly less than that. I'm going to tell you that you are going to have to eat that. We would have to absorb the cost of shoes that faded. Leather was really bad or creasing. There are things that what kind of product are you selling?
This question was coming from Darren. If you are still there and you would like to.
Kitchen store.
Kitchen store.
Okay. So I will tell you, we use a lot of food styling tricks, using motor oil for coffee. And we would add, we had to be careful of fading, but we also had to be careful of showing anything like alcohol, any wine, champagne, or any fragrances, because they would explode. So That is why there would be, we would use dummy bottles or factices. You might want to only 10% with signage. So I don't know. Maybe you want to sign up to meet with me and we can discuss this in greater detail in terms of maybe closing it down and still staying within that zoning. I know we have problems where people are like it's like, I don't know what you're doing in there. And if I can't see, I don't want to know, kind of stuff that's going on. But some of it is just, I worked with a cosmetic store and we literally moved the floor around so that when the sun was the highest during the day, it would be different product that was less dye and heat sensitive.
A similar concepted question, but an idea for for windows that are tinted, because the sun is too much, creating an display outside by the door since you can't see in.
Yeah,
Ideas there?
well, and also if whether I didn't mention this in terms of signage or graphics that you apply, especially if your windows are tinted, make sure that they are light in color. People are like, oh, I'll just do black. And it's like, no, no one's going to see it. Now, I don't know if your window film is on the inside or the outside, because that will make a distinction. You can also look, though, if you haven't already, look into clings. They do not adhere. They adhere by, I mean, they don't have adhesion. What am I saying? They don't stick on. They're vinyl. Is it time for my afternoon coffee? It's static cling. Okay. So thank you. And those are great. And again, that's, Sir Speedy, Speed Pro, different places like that can make those for you. If you are doing something outside, absolutely. People have signature benches. They have planters with greenery and all of those different sorts of things. So if that helps. Also, depending on your climate, maybe you do a little outdoor vignette. Maybe there's a little teaser. Maybe there's just something every now and then. And then Darren asked another thing. What about the paint?
For painting on windows and making it easy to remove, do you recommend tempera paint or latex like you talked about in the photo?
Latex house paint. Latex house paint. Yeah.
Another question coming from Sarah. Our store doesn't have a street-facing window, and we're on the corner of a rural road and a 40-mile-per-hour 4-lane state highway. We do have a window that faces a parking lot and a big digital sign on the side of the building that faces traffic heading out of town. What can we do with that sign to treat it like a window? Should we do a static image like a window or use it like a slideshow?
I like the idea of a slideshow, quite frankly. I think to have it, just to kind of recreate the illusion of like walking past different things. There are different ways to create those animations from one slide to the next. So whether it's shrinking down and coming back up, I would do it almost sideways, but that's, again, depending on the technical capabilities of the screen itself. I wonder, is there anything that can go around the frame of the thing? Or, I mean, for holiday, can it be decorated? Can it be festooned? Can it have something just to make it look a little more holiday? I don't know. And that may not have been what you were asking about at all. The only other thing I would consider would be traffic safety, is if something that was moving to, you would want to time that so it wasn't a distraction for drivers. Does that make sense? I mean, I'm just kind of like picturing this in my head. And yes, Darren, a razor blade scraper. And I would douse it with a window cleaner first to just kind of soften and bubble it. Mm-hmm. And then you can just pull it off in big sheets. It's so satisfying.
And then our last question
Okay.
comes from Katrina. I have a flooring store that would be interested in some
Oh,
insight for windows. So it's something that's
oh,
naturally flat on down. Recommendations for.
yeah. Okay. That's cool. I that's really interesting. You could do things that were stone based or wood based or sheet based. But this is for holiday, or is this for something? Again, maybe that's something we want to talk about separately. And then Linda. Hiya, Linda. Um, just the idea that, because I've seen really cool stuff done with well, with flooring, with home stuff, with really, I've seen really cool sawhorses created. I've seen I have seen flooring okay for holidays if possible. Does the flooring come in squares? Can it be wrapped with a little bow? Can it be screw-eyed and suspended in some kind of a like panel or something like that? Because see, you've got another challenge, which is I don't necessarily go shopping for flooring for 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 Christmas, right? But you want me in there anyway because maybe I'm going to see the flooring I've always wanted for the kitchen and I'm going to get that from my husband. So, it doesn't, but you're not necessarily a seasonal one. So there are so many fun things though that you could do. You could have someone create a fireplace with flooring samples, that would just be kind of fun, or maybe a series of them that have tiny little identical stockings hung from them. And if you were doing different types of flooring, I would definitely use the same stocking. Why? Because don't let me get distracted by different stockings. Keep me focused on the floor. Okay. Yeah, and just you know what? I'd go on Pinterest too. I would do that. It's so much more than casseroles and bridesmaids dresses these days. When it first started, I'm
There's
like,
everything
what
on
on
Pinterest.
that? Great. Thanks
Well,
for good questions, Katrina. Yeah. Thanks.
Amy,
Now I'm like
thank
really
you.
inspired. Okay.
Well, I haven't seen any others come in, but I love that you have a good active chat and asking questions. This has been amazing. So, Amy, thank you so much. Real quickly, do you want to tell people where they can find you if they want to reach out, email address or website or?
It's Amy at Windows Matter. You can go on windowsmatter.com. Windows Matter because they do. And I'm on Pinterest. I'm on Instagram. I have a Facebook page for my business. That shouldn't be too hard to find.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Great.
Well, again, thank you
Thank
so
you all
much.
so
Yeah.
much.
Before we leave, just a quick pitch for our next webinar, which is coming up in 2 weeks. We're going to be talking about Pink Friday, which is a nationally growing event celebrated the Friday before Black Friday in encouraging customers to shop small before they shop large. So we are having Samantha Connor of the Boutique Hub. The Boutique Hub is the founders of Pink Friday, and they will be on talking about what Pink Friday is, how to celebrate, and how to really grow events and have a Pink Friday sale within your store. How do we take advantage of Amy's offer of discounted help? You can reach out to Amy. I will connect you all with her email address.
Mhm.
And then real quick at the end, how early is too early to decorate for Christmas?
Uh, yeah, like I know Marshall Fields lights the great tree November 1st. So, people get itchy, I think, when they see holiday unless you're selling holiday stuff, you know, people are like, "Oh, it's not," they start clutching their pearls. It's like, "Oh, but it's not even Labor Day and they're selling stuff." It's like, "Yeah, because we're selling the decorations and the trees and the stockings and the stuff like that." But to sell your product for Christmas gift giving, I say those first 6 or 8 days of November.
Excellent. And then I thought it was Plaid Friday. I have not heard about
Oh,
Plaid Friday. I do know Pink Friday though, so maybe kind of similar concepts. I will look into that because I hadn't heard of that before. So, uh,
all
thank
right,
you
cool.
all very much for being on. Thank you, Amy, especially, and you all take care. Have a great day.
All right, bye.
I hope you all enjoyed Amy Meadows of Windows Matter. She is truly just a wealth of information and knows so much about how to make your stores really shine. Next week, we are going to start back up on our next book club. We are going to be looking at the strategies and tactics of pricing. So we're going to be looking at numbers and pricing and all of those fun things. The book itself, The Strategy and Tactics of Pricing by Thomas T. Nagel, is a little bit thicker of a read, but great thing, you don't have to read it. I'm going to do the work for you, and I'm going to break it down into 10 episodes for us to digest and learn, and you'll be able to take those key takeaways and build them into your business. I am so excited about that, especially, again, as we go into fourth quarter, and the pricing is so important on our products. As I mentioned at the end of this webinar, we have another webinar coming up next Wednesday, which is October 8th. We are going to be talking about Pink Friday. So Pink Friday is a national event that occurs the Friday before Black Friday. So there's a lot going on. There's so many shopping and so much deals and all of these things on Black Friday. But a lot of that goes towards big box stores. And then there's Small Business Saturday that comes after that. So Pink Friday is a national event to get customers to shop locally, shop at their local boutiques, at their local independent retailers before everyone goes and spends all their money at the big box stores and then maybe has something left over for Small Business Saturday. So really excited. We have Samantha Connor on, who has talked to us in the past about Pink Friday and talked to us about SEO mistakes that customers make, retailers make. And so she's going to be on talking about Pink Friday, how you can register, what the benefits are registering are, and that Heart on Main Street is a give back component of Pink Friday this year. So every retailer that registers for Pink Friday, $1 will be donated to the organization. Last year they had over 5,000 retailers that registered. They're shooting for 10,000 this year. And so really we can do a lot of good. The money that we raise, we give to independent retailers that have been affected by natural disasters. So to register, you can go to theboutiquehub.com/Pink Friday and sign up there. You can also donate at any time by going to heartonmainstreet.org or heartonmainstreet.org/donate and donating either a one-time or monthly to help support our organization. And again, that money goes to independent retailers in need, those that have lost their stores to natural disasters, and we help rebuild them, get them back in business so they can remain a vital part of their communities. So with that being said, you can register for the webinar, which is on Wednesday, October 8th through heartonmainstreet.org. And we hope to see you there. So that is the end of our episode today. Stay safe, shop local, and keep your heart on Main Street. This episode was written, produced, researched, and edited by me, Patrick Kaiser, with a very special thanks to Amy Meadows of Windows Matter. For more information about Heart on Main Street, you can go to www.heartonmainstreet.org. Thanks. Bye.